The UK Supreme Court has dismissed Wikileaks founder Julian Assange's appeal against extradition to Sweden. He's wanted there for questioning over alleged sex crimes. RT's Sara Fith was outside the courthouse in London.
Julian Assange wasn't in court today when the judgment was passed rejecting his appeal against the extradition to Sweden. Now, it's not over yet. He's now got a 14-day extradition stay whilst his legal team are going to be appealing against some of the points that were raised in the judgment. They want the case reopened, saying they haven't had a chance to respond to some of those points that were raised. So after that, if that fails, you could see Julian Assange on a plane being sent to Sweden to face questioning over those sexual assault charges. It's very likely, though, that you are going to see his legal team taking this fight even further to the European Court of Human Rights. A real sense today amongst his supporters that have turned out that this isn't just a loss for Julian Assange, but for the British justice system as a whole. And I'm joined now by UKIP's MEP Gerard Batten.
What they've actually said today, and so this was decided on a submission that was put by the lawyers, and I put an intervention in as well, was what is the meaning of a judicial authority. Now, we argued, and the lawyers argued, that a judicial authority meant a proper judge or a court of law, because it's a centuries-old principle of English law that you cannot be a judge in your own case. And the prosecutor in Sweden was going to try this case, is therefore also the person requesting extradition. So it wasn't independent. The court actually came to an extraordinary judgment, in my view, which was that the original EU framework decision used the French word authority judiciale, which had a wide variety of meanings, including a prosecutor. So although our own parliament and our own government minister believes a judicial authority means a proper court or a proper judge, that was overturned, and it was decided that the meaning of the word in French was actually what mattered, and therefore they threw out the submission. I think it's extraordinary. It means that now English law has been decided on the meaning of a French word.
Well, absolutely. There is this concern that, you know, the Swedish authority, indeed the US influence in this case, has sort of, in a sense, overridden the British justice system here. Well,
I have to tell you that the British justice system has been overridden by the EU now for some time. They're creating their own system of criminal law. The European arrest warrant is a key part of this, and in fact the English and Scottish courts now have no power to protect people from extradition. They really have no power to prevent an extradition. Providing a piece of paper has been correctly filled out, name, address, the nature of the offence, they don't have to supply any evidence, and the court is not allowed to take into account the prima facie evidence or lack of it against the accused person. You know, as Mr. Assange has found out, this is not about the evidence against him, about whether it stacks up or not. It's about the meaning of a word in French.
Thank you very much for joining us. And you heard there, indeed, the evidence against Julian Assange has been widely misconstrued and misreported as well. A lot of facts of the case haven't been presented that clearly. So a real sense here today that certainly justice hasn't been served when it comes to Julian Assange.
After you, Sara Fith, right there. Well, just a bit earlier, she prepared this report looking back at the case against Assange.
Julian Assange was heralded as a modern-day truth seeker.
Wikileaks.
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 Wikileaks. Wikileaks.
Wikileaks.
But many of the same people who had championed him have now joined the smear campaign aimed at silencing him.
Julian Assange is a cyber terrorist in wartime. He should be killed.
And we've got to apprehend Mr. Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, and bring him to justice as a violator of the Espionage Act, because if we don't, this will keep happening.
The dead man can't leak stuff. This guy's a traitor, a treasonist, and he has broken every law of the United States. The guy ought to be, and I'm not for the death penalty, so if I'm not for the death penalty, I only want to do it, illegally shoot the son of a...
A very short time after WikiLeaks released the large number of US diplomatic cables, suddenly the case was reopened and the prosecutors decided that they did want to investigate and interview him. It could be just a coincidence, but taken together with the general witch hunt against Julian and WikiLeaks, it does look a bit suspicious.
Why is it that I am kept under electronic house arrest when I have not even been charged in any country?
Sweden wants him extradited for questioning over sexual conduct allegations of having unprotected yet consensual sex. And with this crime unique to Sweden, many are questioning why he found himself on the same Interpol list alongside senior Mexican drug lords.
The European arrest warrant system is basically a no questions asked system because it works on a tick box basis. Prosecutors in one state can essentially fill in a form, and if they have ticked the correct boxes about the nature of the offence that's been committed, then extradition will be ordered, no questions asked.
The European Commission has acknowledged that these arrest warrants are being misused. The no questions asked system leaves judges very little discretion to refuse the warrants. The outcome of the case could have wide implications for human rights issues too. When Wikileaks published US Embassy cables, it gave the world an unprecedented insight into US government activities and revealed some uncomfortable truths.
It's time to think that we all need to be our own Assanges, and that it's also important that really we need to be working for a society where Wikileaks is no longer necessary.
But democratic process is something that now seems to be lacking.
He could be locked up with very little access to the outside world. He will be allowed to see a priest and he will be allowed to see a lawyer, but his ability to speak to others, family members, the media, to read newspapers and to access the internet could be severely restricted.
Fear is that the United States may use the liberal extradition laws in Sweden to then get him fast-tracked to the United States, where he could face extremely serious charges effectively of aiding the enemy by the release of the WikiLeaks cables. I think this will send a chilling effect to all potential whistleblowers, that if they dare challenge the secrecy and indeed in many cases war crimes of the United States, they will face retribution.
And it's why his many supporters have vowed to ensure that neither Assange nor WikiLeaks are silenced. Sara Fith, RT, London.